Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Do you stand by that claim of calling to more pardon?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with
America, what's happening in Minnesota has officially become a national security crisis. We just witnessed the 78th defendant charged in the largest C-19 fraud scheme in United States history, while Minneapolis Police Chief O'Hare was forced to publicly apologize for simply telling the truth about Somalia criminal activity in his own city. But here's what's absolutely terrifying. We now have Somalia police officers on camera declaring that they work for Somalians first, not Americans, all while hundreds of millions of tax dollars flowed to al-Shabaab terrorists overseas. This is exactly why President Trump suspended temporary protection status for Somalian nationals. Minnesota has become a hub for organized crime that's literally funding international terrorism.
There is a lot of hate in this country for Muslims. There's a lot of hate in this country for black people, especially black women. And there is a lot of hate, severe hate, for immigrants.
What is up, guys? TYSON DELACRUZ here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. We've been following this Minnesota fraud circus for months, and if you want to get caught up on everything that led to today's shocking revelations, we put together a complete playlist. You can either find it in the description down below or somewhere on the screen. Let me start with the most disturbing development. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hare was forced to publicly apologize for exposing the reality of Somalia criminal activity in his own town. Think about that for a moment. A police chief had to ask for forgiveness for doing his job and protecting public safety.
The Somali community here in Minneapolis has been welcoming and has shown love towards me, and I appreciate it. Over the last 3 years, we have been working together to try and address some of the real serious problems that we have in our community.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
We have to be honest at times with the problems that we're having in our community, and we need our community to help us fix those problems together because it's real and it's serious. At the same time, if people have taken anything that I have said out of context in a way that's caused harm, I apologize and I'm sorry for that because that's not my intention at all.
Sure. I'm the captain now.
This is absolutely insane. Here's a police chief who's been working with Somalia community for 3 years to address serious crime problems, and he's forced to grovel and apologize for stating facts about crime statistics.
This next story should be a wake-up call to all Americans, however. Over the weekend, the president calling Minnesota a hub of fraudulent activity and ending protected status for Somalis living in Minnesota.
This is how it begins, America, when police chiefs can't even acknowledge criminal activity without being forced to apologize. You've lost control of your city. Other countries are watching this weakness in Minnesota leadership and thinking exactly what we're all thinking. This state has been completely compromised. And it gets so much worse. We now have video evidence of Somalia police officers in Minnesota openly declaring that they work for Somalians first, not Americans. This isn't law enforcement. This is foreign occupation of our police departments.
markaan haddaan askarnahay Soomaaliyeed ininkaayni shaqeynaa habeenii maalmo ininkaayni taagannahay fahanteen horta sida ogtihiinba wadankan anaga qaxootiyaan imaanay askar Soomaaliya ma jirin marka hadda anaga markii nala haygareeyay waxay noqotay inaan dadkeena u shaqeyno.
Listen to what this officer is saying. As a Somalian police officer, we're working for you, Somalians. Day and night, we stand for you and serve for you. Now that we have been hired, it means we are working for our own people. This, my friends, is a police officer sworn to protect and serve all Americans, and he's openly declaring his primary loyalty to one ethnic group.
dadkii dhaqankii ma fahmaynaa luqadii ma fahmaynaa culture-kii ma fahmaynaa marka qofka kale mataqaana ajnabiga abadaanka iyo anaga waa kala duwanahay.
He goes on to say they're different from foreigners or white officers, and that every Somali Somalian police officer, whether you're in the homeland or abroad, works for Somalians. This is ethnic nationalism being openly declared by sworn law enforcement officers. When police officers see themselves as representatives of foreign interests rather than American law enforcement, you no longer have a functioning police department. While police chiefs are apologizing and officers are declaring foreign loyalty, the criminal enterprise keeps expanding and going. Abid Rashad Bixidu became the 78th defendant charged in this massive fraud scheme, accused of stealing over $1 million through fake food sites in Pelican Rapids and Moorhead. According to federal prosecutors, Dual operated 2 fake meal sites claiming to serve over 40,000 meals to children every single week. Through just one site, he claimed to serve 6,000 meals to children every day, 7 days a week. To put that in perspective, that is more than double the population of Pelican Rapids, children and adults combined.
And now reports are coming out that some of the stolen money may have wound up in the hands of Al-Shabaab, a Somali-based terror group.
The scope of this fraud is absolutely staggering. We're not talking about a few people stealing lunch money. Federal sources tell us billions of dollars have been stolen since 2019, with much of the money flowing back to Somalia, where a cut goes directly to Al-Shabaab, the Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group.
It's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can, but to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy.
Here's what makes this a national security crisis rather than just a fraud case. Federal investigators have confirmed that the money stolen from Minnesota taxpayers ended up in the hands of Al-Shabaab terrorists in Somalia. Federal sources have a saying in the Somalia community: when it rains in Minnesota, umbrellas go up in Mogadishu. That perfectly captures how Minnesota taxpayer money is flowing directly to Somalia, where terrorist organizations are taking their cut for every dollar that comes in abroad.
Somali fraud ring stealing millions and tens of millions of dollars from Medicaid and sending that money back to the motherland to support their friends, their families, or to just outright fund terrorism in a very dangerous Islamic country.
We're talking about a systematic pipeline where Minnesota Medicaid and nutrition program funds were being stolen through fake autism diagnosis and non-existent meal programs, then laundered overseas to support terrorist operations. This isn't just welfare fraud anymore. This is state-sponsored terrorist funding using American taxpayer dollars. The autism fraud component of this scheme is particularly disgusting because it targets programs designed to help the most vulnerable children. Federal funding from the autism services in Minnesota exploded from $3 million to nearly $400 million in just 5 years, largely because of this coordinated scam.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. The number of autism providers in Minnesota went from 41 to 326, in large part because of this scam. Claims that 1 in 16 Somalian 4-year-olds had been diagnosed with autism, a rate that would have been more than triple the average.
These were fabricated claims designed to steal money meant for genuinely disabled children. Think about the evil of this operation. They were literally stealing money from programs designed to help autistic children and using it to fund international terrorism. Every dollar that they stole was a dollar that couldn't help a child who actually needed therapy or support. While all this fraud was happening, we just learned that Timmy Tampon Walsh's administration failed to perform required safety checks on computer systems that determines who gets SNAP benefits. This created a massive vulnerability that allowed fraudsters to exploit the system with impunity.
Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. The program distributes nearly $70 million in benefits each month in Minnesota alone. Well, 5 Investigates has uncovered audits that show the state did not perform required security checks of the computer system that determines who is eligible to receive this money. It is a discovery that has SNAP recipients like Mateo Halbesleben worried about the safety of his personal data.
When you combine this security failure with the systematic fraud we've been documenting, you've got a perfect storm of criminal exploitation. This is what happens when you have weak leadership more concerned with political correctness than protecting taxpayer money. Timmy Tampon Walsh's administration was so focused on not appearing discriminatory that they ignored obvious red flags and failed to implement basic security measures. This is exactly why President Trump suspended temporary protection status for Somalian nationals in Minnesota. When you have organized criminal networks stealing hundreds of millions of dollars and funneling money to terrorist organizations, continuing to provide immigration protection becomes a national security threat.
These are people that came here as refugees and then figure out how to scam the system even further. A lot of them lied to get into the country, lied about who they had married just to get in. They get here and they start stealing from us and sending it back home.
Trump's response was exactly what any rational leader would do. Get the hell out. When people come here as a refugee and immediately start stealing from taxpayers who welcome them, when they set up criminal enterprises that funded international terrorism, when they compromise our police departments and intimidate our law enforcement, they forfeited any right to remain in our country. The suspension of TPS sends a clear, absolute clear message that immigration benefits are a privilege that can be revoked when recipients engage in criminal activity that threatens national security. America, what we're witnessing in Minnesota is a complete breakdown of law and order and government accountability and immigration enforcement. When police chiefs have to apologize for acknowledging criminal activity, when officers declare loyalty to foreign ethnic groups over American law, when hundreds of millions in taxpayer money flows to terrorist organizations, you no longer have a functioning state government. The 78 defendant being charged shows this criminal enterprise is still growing and still being uncovered. Federal investigators estimate billions have been stolen since 2019, with much of that money ending up in the hands of al-Shabaab terrorists who use it to plan attacks against American interests. Timmy Tampon Walsh's administration failed at an entire level. No security checks on benefit systems, no oversight of massive fraud schemes, no accountability for criminal networks operating with impunity. This is what happens when political correctness becomes more important than protecting taxpayers and national security. The forced apology by Police Chief O'Hare shows how completely the political establishment has been captured by criminal interests. When law enforcement can't even acknowledge crime statistics without groveling for forgiveness, you've lost control of your city. Trump's suspension for TPS for Somali nationals was the only rational response to this particular crisis. When immigration benefits are being exploited by criminal networks that fund international terrorism, those benefits must be revoked immediately. Minnesota has become a cautionary tale to the entire country of what happens when weak leadership prioritizes political correctness over public safety and national security. Other states need to learn from this disaster before it spreads into other communities. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.